You only get a couple seconds to make a first impression, and we are going to give you tips today to make sure that it's a good one. Hey, I'm Amy Walker. I am a client acquisition specialist, and my job is to help you find the most simple ways to consistently find your dream clients. And today we're talking about that first impression. How do you make a great first impression in that first meeting? It's so critical because you truly only get a few seconds. So I'm going to give you 5 tips today that you can use. Some of them will be preparation things that you can do, and some of them are going to be body language communication so that you can make sure that you create that connection and build that rapport and trust as quickly as possible, because the faster they're into you, the more likely that they are to close on your product, your service, your programs. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Please subscribe and make sure you hit the bell notification so you can get notified every time we release new content, which is 3 times a week. I learned about first impressions the hard way on my very first job interview. I went in, I was like barely 16 years old. It was at TCBY Yogurt, if any of you remember that. And I went in and I was having this interview, and like all my friends worked there, so I thought it was gonna be an easy thing. I dressed up, I was like presentable, I brought in, my resume and everything, and sat down, and he said, "So why do you think you'd be good at this position?" And I remember saying, "Because I'm a hard worker." And like I was, good answer, Amy. And then he said, "Well, how do you know you're a hard worker?" And I said, "Because I do good work." And I went completely blank. And in that moment, I was like, I will never be this unprepared for a meeting again. And I know everybody has to have their first experience, but it taught me a lot about the importance of that first impression and being able to make sure that you go into every situation really capable of putting your best foot forward. So let's jump into our tips for today. Tip number 1 is to wow them before the meeting. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. It can be that you send them some preparation materials beforehand. I had a great reach out that I was super impressed with their process. They created a customized video for me that included like my name in the video. It included my website and a little quick review of my website. And so I really, before that first meeting, I could tell they were very invested in this relationship and in the communication. So that could be one way that you wow them. It could be that you do something like send them brownies in the mail and say, "I'm so, so grateful that we're going to be having this meeting. Can't wait to get to meet you." There's a lot of different ways that you can wow them before you even get on the call, but I recommend that you do that. It will set you apart, it will distinguish you. So whether that's your preparation email sequence that you send, or whether it's you send them something of value, that's what we do before we get on a call with somebody. We send them an improvement plan and a strategy for their sales and their marketing before we ever get on a call. So we're leading with value. Whatever you decide to do, wow them before you even get on the call. That way their first impression of you is framed. And that's something that in sales we call a pre-frame, that before they get to the point of sale, there has to have been certain things that are happening beforehand so that they have a favorable impression. So now you can get on that client call and you can seal the deal. Number 2 is be prepared. There is nothing worse than getting on a call with a potential client and they say, "So you've been to my website, right?" And you're like, "No, I haven't been to your website." And you're typing furiously like, yeah, pulling it up right now. Let me just remember what I was looking at before. And it's like, it just feels icky. So doing a little bit of prep work beforehand, it does not take long, especially if your sales process supports giving you the information before you get on that call. So when I get on this call, or my closers get on a call, there's already been information that's been entered in, and so we can pull up their account, we can look through their notes, get their business in our brain, and then when we jump in, we can say, "Now it looks like you're having some current concerns with this area, this area, this area." It doesn't take a ton of time, but it does make us come across as like we are prepared and we value you. I gotta tell you, there's nothing more annoying to me than somebody getting on a call with me to sell me something and they don't know anything about my business. It's like, well, do you even have any idea what my needs are, or what we're dealing with or looking at here? Like, there's just been no work done. So that prep work, I think, really sets you apart as somebody who is invested in the relationship versus somebody who's just there trying to get like quick bucks. Tip number 3 is customization. Customization makes everybody feel important. If you've ever gone somewhere and they write your name on the dressing room, or when you walk in they're waiting and ready and prepared for you, there's something that feels really special about customization. And I think part of the reason we shy away from customization is because we think it's not scalable. It is scalable if you do it the right way. So I have found that the 90-10 rule for customization works really well. If I can make 90% of that first experience the same as what I do with everyone else, and 10% feel really customized, then they feel like, wow, this is amazing, I'm super special here, and they're prepared for me. So little things like, if you do a presentation, put their logo into your presentation and pull up their branding. And if they have little fun things, like I had a client who they had a mascot, so I put the mascot in and worked him in, and it was just like a stuffed animal that they moved around the office, and they did fun things on their social media. So if you've got a client that they're a really big fan of, a certain sports team, working that into the examples that you use. If you've got an office space, can you can you find out something that is their favorite candy, and when you come in, you have their favorite candy there. Can you have a reserved parking spot with their name on it? So just little things like that. The more that you customize little things, then you don't have to feel like you're rewriting your pitch, rewriting your presentation every time. You're just customizing 10%, but makes them feel like this is a very custom experience that they're having. Tip number 4 for creating a great first impression is to use stories. People love stories. They remember stories. They connect with stories. Stories helps to bridge the gap between information and the heart space. So it's like the gap between the brain and the heart. And it really gets people to remember you. It builds trust, it builds rapport. So choosing well-placed stories is very, very helpful. I was on a sales call recently, and at the beginning of this call, this person was very hesitant. And it came across like, I'm really interested in what you have to say, probably can't afford it. Like, that was how the conversation started. And as we got into it, what came out was she had had some bad investments, and she's invested in programs and coaches who she didn't get any return for it. And so when I shared the story of, yeah, I know exactly what that feels like. I had one time invested $40,000 with a company who, had said they would generate $250,000 in return, and we generated 0 in return. There was no return on investment for it. So I can definitely understand that. That story, me sharing that experience, really opened her up and really gave me an opportunity to be able to generate a better quality conversation with her. And then at the end as well, I was able to use another story. So instead of overcoming her objection of finances with, numbers and facts, to be able to say, I have been absolutely in your shoes. And let me share with you what my experience was when I was at your place. It really helped to overcome that objection in such an easier way because it was a lot more relatable. So I love using stories. I love using them in my sales presentations. I love using them in one-on-one phone calls. Anytime that we've got an opportunity to bring us down to really kind of a human level and create connection, I'm going for it. And that really is what the stories are going to do for you. All right, last tip is going to be some nonverbal communication clues. So if you have ever studied body language and nonverbal communication, the words that you say are like 7% of the conversation. 57% is your body language, and then the rest is your tone. The tone is like how you modulate your voice and how you say things. You want your tone to be very warm and very engaging, and you want to kind of tone match and pace match them how they talk as well. So if they are somebody that is more of a slow talker and you're a fast talker, you got to slow yourself down. If you're really a slow talker and they're very fast paced, you're going to have to pick up and match their pace. So pick up on their vocal cues and kind of mirror them, because it will help them to feel more at ease in a quicker period of time. Now, as for your body language, here's a tip. When you go to shake someone's hand, we have different zones, and there's a personal space bubble that is the place where they don't want somebody else to come into it. It makes them uncomfortable, and it's a different size for everybody. So for some people, their personal space zone is like this much. For some people, it's this much, and you don't really know what that's going to look like. So what I do is when I am walking up to somebody new to introduce myself, I'll reach out my hand early and I'll walk up to them until they make some sort of a movement. They'll flinch, their eyes will go up, they'll tighten their lips, they'll take a step back, something will happen, and I just stop there and I let them come to me, and that's how I bridge that personal space bubble. Another thing with the handshake is that you want the webs of your hands to connect. Like when webs of hands are connecting, it's a sign that you've got good connection. You don't want to do like a real bone crusher handshake because that comes across as domineering. You don't want to be floppy because unless you're a 90-year-old woman, it's just gross and unacceptable. But you also want the palms connected. When the palms are connected and the little web right here is connected, that is a good sign that you're showing them that you've got good connection and you're open to creating a relationship. Another thing is to be conscientious of your hands. We like to see hands. It increases trust when we can see hands and we can see what's going on. So keeping your hands out of your pockets is a good thing. Keeping your hands on top of a table is a good thing. Now, it doesn't mean you have to walk around like, hey everybody, my hands are visible. You can use them and you can move them and bring them down by your side and bring them back up. But in general, you want to try to keep those hands visible as much as possible, because there's this part of our old primitive brain that is, meant to keep us alive, that if we can't see the hands, we don't know if they're friend or foe. Do they have a big rock and they're about to crush us? Do they have a weapon? Are they going to harm us? There's this certain part of your brain that is supposed to protect you that's going to be working on that if they can't see your hands. So just keep them up. Third tip for you with your nonverbal is keep your feet pointed at the person. When your foot is pointed away, or one foot is like leading towards the door, it's a sign of disconnect and a sign that you're not fully present and fully engaged. Now, there are some people who they won't want to be like front to front with you. It's a little too intimidating. So I go face to face, and then if they adjust, then I just let them adjust and I'll just turn a little bit. We don't have to be like full on because it might not be comfortable for them. There are people that when you meet them, your good first impression is going to be that you respected that they're not 100% ready to connect with you. And that's the good first impression. And then there's other people who they want to know that you're 100% ready to connect with them. So you kind of have to read the other person, pick up on them, and match their cues. So I hope what you're taking away is there is a whole lot of things that you can do to help get a great first impression in this meeting. That first meeting is so critical. Think about how much work goes into getting it. You have to do your marketing and find and acquire the leads. You got to nurture those leads so they're even ready to take your call. You got to reach out multiple times to be able to get them on the phone. You got to get them scheduled. You have to ensure that they don't cancel. By the time you get to that meeting, there's been so many hours that have gone into that. And you want to make sure that you are really stepping up and creating a great lasting first impression. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you would like more tips around this or you have any questions, please leave me a comment below. I love your comments. Now, if you would like to get some analysis on how you're doing with your sales and your marketing, I'd love to invite you to take our sales and marketing scorecard. It's a really great assessment. It will rank your business in terms of how you're doing, and based on your answers, we will send you a customized improvement plan. So if you want that, there's a link down below in the comments, and we would love for you to take it. If you'd like to join a community of like-minded entrepreneurs, head on over to my private Facebook group, Acquire. I post business tips in there, ask questions, start conversations, post live videos, and we would just love to have you over there as a part of that community. And that, my friends, is it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope you go out there and impress the socks off of all of your potential clients.